Welcome back to MyACT. It's day 4 in Cannes, and I gotta admit, I'm actually getting a little bit tired. How are you feeling today, Sophie?
I'm a little tired, so now I'm standing up, not sitting on a stool.
You're not too
I feel
old.
small.
Not too old, far from. And we actually have a really, really good panel with us here today, highlighting probably one of, at least a topic that's very close to my heart, which is obviously the environmental challenges that we're faced with today. I think doing environmental campaigns are incredibly tough because how do you put a human face on our nature? And I think we really today really need strong voices, compelling voices, to showcase why we need to protect, nurture and regenerate our environment. So I'm really, really happy to have all 4 of you with us here today.
Yes, and thank you so much for doing environmental campaigns, because as you see in our exhibition, they're very few and there are less and less. So guys, please continue working on this environment because our Mother Earth needs you.
Especially, I guess, our politicians also kind of need to dial up the heat on environmental campaigns. But let's jump into the work, right?
Yes, let's jump into the work, and I'm going to turn to you, Fabrice. So first of all, could you please just present yourself?
Yeah, I'm Fabrice Fazel. I'm the Managing Director and Chief Creative Officer at Havas Play in France. It's an agency within the group Havas, creating activation, content experiences. Our idea is like, how do we connect audiences to brands or to causes, in this case, by creating experiences that tap into culture, into fandom, and that are really right in culture. And that's what we did with Firecatcher. We're going to talk about now.
Yeah, and then, so Firecatcher, what it is. Can you tell the audience who probably maybe didn't see the campaign because it's targeted to gamers, what is this campaign?
Firecatcher is a campaign for the firefighters in France. We talked with Eric Brocardi, he's in charge of the communication and everything, and he told us, when we had a conversation, like the difference between a simple fire and a major catastrophe, it's mostly time. And if you wait like 10, 15, 20 minutes to get the alert when a fire starts in a forest, sometimes it's too late to stop the fire very quick. And it becomes massive, and it's like this a mega fire we can see in France right now, but also in Canada or other countries. So the idea, and we said, okay, how can we help that? And we thought there was AI solutions, to be honest. But actually, AI solutions are not very efficient, so and they're very expensive. So we thought with the creative team, and we said, okay, there is a moment on Twitch where people are waiting for a long time, and they are doing absolutely nothing. At the moment, they just log and wait for the streamer, and the streamer are always late, so they just are in front of the waiting screen, waiting for the streamer. And we said, okay, let's create a media space here. Let's use this kind of dead time, and let's make something happen on this dead time. And so we plugged cameras on the more risky forest in France, and people were waiting for the streamer, and they were monitoring the forest in France, and we asked them to tap and to say into the chat as soon as they saw a little bit of smoke or things like that. And it was directly linked to the firefighters central, and they received alerts real time. And thanks to that, we just prevent 5 major fires last year in France, and we are trying now to expand in other regions and in other countries too in Europe.
Wow, and how did you get the firefighters, French firefighters, to embrace this crazy idea?
They loved it because they said it was super useful for them. So we arrived with a solution for them. It was not very expensive. We had to put some cameras, but it's not like, it's not craft, you put like GoPro, and it's quite easy to produce. And so they were super, super happy with that. And they really, they didn't think about that. And it was interesting because they could also create a link with this specific audience. And they also need to recruit. And so that's interesting because people see that, and then they can ask to be a firefighter. They can go to visit the center of recruitment of firefighters. So you build also the brand awareness, and you make people more in the in relationship with the brand. So that's a perfect example of what we do with classic brands every day, to be aware in culture and to use an audience insight super precise, and then to partner with a lot of creators, influencers, because we partner with 600 influencers that relate everything on their stream, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's like beginning a conversation with the whole community and enabling the people to really do something for good and to really, get involved. And I think, that's one thing that really struck me this year is that the creative are putting the people, the citizens, in the middle, and they are the solution. We're not only talking about awareness, we're also talking about what can we do concretely to, save our planet. So thank you for this wonderful campaign.
Yeah, you're right.
And bravo for what you already received at the Alliance.
It's official. We can speak about it. We don't know if it's Thursday, Wednesday, when. No, it was yesterday night, so it was great. Yeah, silver and a bronze. We were super, super happy.
Fantastic. Congrats with that. And I think that is the little key, right? It is to get people to participate in these things and obviously take an active stance in some of this. Interestingly enough, obviously, France is Creative Country of the Year this year. And Gabby, you're from Brazil, which was Creative Country of the Year last year. And you are from Droga 5, Brazil. This campaign really resonated with me because I think for so often we take our natural world for given. I mean, I grew up on a very small island in the middle of the Baltic Sea. When I grew up, I could run around and catch fish with my hands between the rocks. Today, there is no fish.
Oh.
Crazy. In one generation, that's all gone. And that's why this campaign touched me so much. So can you explain a little bit about what the campaign is about?
Yeah, we know that sometimes in conversation about sustainability, people just forget about the ocean. So with this campaign, first we decided to launch a new UNJ. And this, it's called SOS Oceano in Portuguese. It's like SOS Ocean. And it's a coalition of more than 50 NGOs trying to fight this kind of conversation, to find space in sustainability conversation to keep the ocean as something important. So last year we had the COP30 in Brazil. And in the middle of the COP, we discovered that I think more than 90% of the conversation was about forest and not about ocean. So in the middle of the second semester of the year, we decided to create this campaign to pressure the government to create another area for protection in Brazil. So with this campaign now, we have the biggest area for protection, which is Albardão. It's in the south of Brazil. So now it's possible to take care of more than 25 species that was suffering and still suffering, because we are trying to now create this area. It's still it's a working that probably is going to take more 2 years to prepare this area and create this area in a bigger way. So I think that the most amazing part for us is that we decided not only to create a campaign about sustainability, but a campaign about pride, about national pride. So that's why we decided to use the flag, the national flag.
Yeah, I absolutely love how, because you're right, I think a lot of people, if you say Brazil, and especially doing COP30...
It's Amazon, always.
Yeah, exactly. That always pops up. And so not that many people might necessarily think about oceans. And again, I mean, there's always this thing that, 70% of our planet is a lovely blue planet, and obviously we need to protect that. And so how do you get people to relate to what is in the ocean? You talked about sort of the flag and national pride. So how do you use that national pride to get people to think about the many amazing species that you have in the ocean?
So as part of the campaign, we had a participation of Sylvia Earle. She is one of the biggest activists in ocean. So she has this phrase, no blue, no green. This is not a campaign phrase, it's her. She decided to give us this phrase as a gift for us to use in the campaign. And it's not only a phrase about color, because it's true, it's impossible to have green without blue in color. Yeah. But it's also about nature. So if we don't have the ocean, it's impossible to have the Amazon, for example. But people in Brazil, they just don't care about nature, and they just don't care about ocean. So if I decided to talk about ocean, it's not enough for create this kind of pressure that we needed in this case. So we decided to talk about pride. So that's the point. People in Brazil, it's World Cup. So people in Brazil, they care about the flag. The flag is important for us.
We definitely seen that these couple of days in Cannes.
Go Brazil.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so people care about the flag. And in our flag, we have both green and blue. So we just decided to take this color out of the national flag. But in Brazil, I don't know about other countries, but in Brazil, it's not possible to do this. The government just say that it's against the rules to change the flag.
Ah.
So we decided to just do so. And Lula, it's totally okay with the changing. So we are really proud of the campaign. So we won a silver 2 years ago. So we are really happy.
Amazing. And by the way, Sylvia Earle is such an amazing woman. I mean, I met her a couple of years ago, and yeah, what an amazing conservationist and fighter for the oceans. So you have in some ways taken this, I think, a step further. Not to say that the three of you don't show pride around your campaigns, but you have a little surprise for us today as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think I don't think I've come across any creative yet that have said, let me maybe make a tattoo. And what tattoo is it that you have? And
yeah, so I came for a strategy, and when I decided to change to impact, before this, all my campaigns was amazing, but the result is just about marketing. And in this case, the result is so bigger than I decided to, I don't know, live with this. So now I have a tattoo, and it's about a toninha. Toninha, it's a dolphin, one of the species that I told you before. And now she is always with me in my leg.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Do you want to show it to us?
I can.
Drum roll.
So,
Let's have a look.
yeah,
Oh,
are you ready?
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
it's almost here.
Yeah, oh,
So
that's
it's
a beauty.
Toninha. In Portuguese, we have a name called Antônia. So it's Toninha, Antônia. It's almost Antoninha. So I call her Antônia. Yeah.
Oh.
And is that a river dolphin, or is it
No, it's famous on the south of the continent.
yeah?
But she's too small. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So and she's suffering a lot with the how can I say the fish. I forgot the word in English.
Yeah.
But she's suffering a lot, so we decided to take care of her. So.
I wonder if Ryan also have a tattoo, or we need to make it live. Let's see.
Nothing to make live.
Nothing to no tattoo, no worries. So we are actually, turning to you, Ryan, another part of the world, also about water, but not salty water. So, that's you. So you you made a campaign to make visible something. So please, can you tell us about your campaign and how it works?
Yeah, so as we all know by now, AI has this massive impact on the environment. There are millions, AI uses millions of liters of water every day just to cool down the data centers that handle all of the world's prompts. And so coming from that, we wanted to personalize this kind of global problem into something that people can relate to. So we turned to bottles of water. It's something that, it's easy to understand, it's easy to be accountable for, and it's easy to give away. So by visualizing the personal usage of people into bottles of water, we took it a step further by allowing them as well to donate it to people in need in the Global South through our partner, Planet Water Foundation.
Okay, so what I didn't do at the beginning is I forgot to ask you from which agency you were.
Yeah. So I'm Ryan Kedig. I'm from TBWA SMP, which is part of the TBWA network. I'm an ECD there, and it's an agency that has consistently been churning out ideas for the environment. We've had previous can winners also for Boysen and for other brands that help give back to the environment.
So you're very strong on with the environment. Thank you, because we need that.
Yes, you're welcome.
So how did you do this? What's the mechanism of your campaign?
Okay, so when we were doing the campaign, we found out that a lot of people are actually aware of the global problem that is being caused by AI. They know that there's a real impact to this virtual problem, right? But I think many of them know it on a global scale, but very few of them can relate to it on a personal level. And we found out that not a lot, there hasn't been a program that has visualized it in terms of their individual use. So that's what we tried to do with Bottle It Back. So we turned to this visual of like I said, a bottle of water. So what happens is when you download this plugin, it's going to then monitor all of your prompts on different kinds of AI chat platforms. And it's different. There are different levels of consumption because if you use ChatGPT, it runs on GPT-5, which is more water intensive than, say, for example, Grok. So every time you prompt, the water level increases, and you can collect all of these bottles of water and donate it to someone who has no access to it. And so far, we've gotten a lot of comments from people who were using it, and they're all unprompted, and they're just surprised at how much water that they've been using. It's like there was this guy who was searching for songs and awards by Madonna on his chat, and at the end of the day, he was surprised that he was using he used an entire bottle of water. And so creating that kind of emotion or that motivation for people to be surprised at the actual impact that they personally make, and giving them an avenue to do something about it. So that's what we set out to do with this program.
Okay, and so basically you're just showing people how much they're using the AI, how they're using the AI, how much water they're doing. Why is it that so important that to do it this way instead of just saying, well, AI is water consuming, it's very bad. Why is it important to doing it this way?
Yeah, like I said earlier, people can be detached because, they've heard about headlines about, how much AI is costing energy, how much AI is costing, water resources, on this massive scale. But I think what we were able to do was to personalize that data and allow them to track their own usage in real time. So the effect was, it becomes more personal. They have a better understanding of the issue as well. And, like I said, people have been using it, and we've had a lot of response from the media as well, from tech media. And they are, very rigorous when it comes to their reviews. I'm from that, and I was them in my past life. And so they've been giving us a positive feedback based on their usage, that it really, they're just amazed at how it visualizes their personal use, and it allows you to easily give back at the click of a button to Planet Water. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this wonderful campaign.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that participation sort of goes through two of the campaigns, right? And I think now we stand with a bottle of water. I mean, it definitely makes me think. I think a lot of us have become unfortunately, a bit, let's say, lazy with the use of AI, because why would we use AI to search for Madonna song or something like that when there are less intensive ways of doing that? So I think very clear, and it's such a nice notch from a behavior where you can do something differently about it. And so, Sherry, you were here last year, and it's so good to see you again. You are the director of the UN Regional Information Center for Western Europe. For people who don't know what that means, can you just enlighten us a little bit? What do you do?
Absolutely, and such a pleasure to be here again and to see these amazing campaigns, and we can talk more about that, but really congratulations to all of you. So what I do is I look after UN communications in Western Europe, so for 22 countries, and that means tackling these issues as well as issues related to peace and security and human rights. So it's quite a vast challenge, if I can put it that way at the moment, to be working at the UN facing this crisis that we have, whether it be wars and conflict around the world, humanitarian crises, and of course the climate emergency and the triple planetary crisis that we're all facing with pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss.
Yeah, and congratulations also by being a judge again in the Sustainable Development Goal jury, which is also my absolute favorite jury. I was judging that some years ago as well, and I think we'll come back to maybe some of the insights. But from a UN perspective, why do you think it's so important to involve citizens in these topics? And as you say, they're vastly different, they're vastly complex.
So there are two big reasons that I'd like to highlight, and they've been really made visible by the work that you're doing. So one of them is to get people to act. Right now is the time to act. We keep hearing it's the hottest day of the hottest week of the hottest month of the hottest year. We see it today in Canada and across Europe. We need people to do something about it. It's an emergency. It's critical now. And that's what you've demonstrated through things that people can do and finding people where they are and actually doing things that also demonstrate what the impact of our actions are in a very tangible way. So that's a powerful thing, is to not only to get people to act, but to give them very tangible things that they can do and find them where they are. And the other big thing that is very important is mobilizing public support so that policymakers can make the changes that we need at scale. It's wonderful and it's so important that as individuals we all do our part and that we get that critical mass of individuals, saving forests from fires or saving the ocean, or being aware of their AI usage and contributing back to that, the water that's being used, etc. But we need to scale that up. It's not enough anymore. It's an emergency, and we need policymakers to take the sometimes difficult steps in order to actually make the change that we need. So those are the two things that I'd like to say. One thing, so the Secretary General of the UN did a very important climate speech in London at London Climate Week on Tuesday, and he highlighted a couple of things. One is obviously renewables. So we'd like people to really step up and put pressure on governments to increase even more the use of renewables, which are the cheapest, fastest way that we can actually make progress. And then the second thing that he really focused on was methane. Methane makes up 1/3 of our emissions, and it's actually much quicker to act on methane than it is on other forms of emissions. It actually breaks down within 1 to 2 decades. So we can have action quick. We can see impact quickly if we act on methane. So there's a big call now for methane. And I'll just finish, because I was thinking about this when you were talking about AI. We don't talk enough about that, about the environmental impact of AI. So that's why your work is so powerful. And the Secretary General also called out for an AI environmental transparency, accountability from the platforms, that they need to report on the cost in terms of water usage, land usage, energy usage, so that we at least know what is the environmental cost of our use of AI.
Sherry, thank you so much for sharing that, because as Cannes is going on, at the same time we have Climate Week in London. It's a bit of unfortunate that those two things happen at the very same time, because I do think that the two communities coming together are incredibly important in terms of applying creative thinking, applying the skill sets across innovative ways, reaching people that are hard to reach. So I really do think that when these two things come together, something magic really happens. And I know that the SDG awards are only handed out tomorrow, and so probably you can't say so much, but I'm trying to squeeze something out of you anyways. So are there anything from the judging that you can share with us that you learned, or maybe for those who haven't been part of the judging, maybe just share some insights, because the jury in fact is also different from a lot of the other award shows because you're quite a diverse jury.
It's a very diverse jury, and I think that is very rich. It makes for a rich experience as a juror, and I'm very grateful to be part of that. And it also means that we have very animated discussions about, what makes for an award. What do we need to think about? And I think in this particular category, again, there's the urgency of action that needs to be taken into account. Are things scalable? Will they actually make an impact quickly enough? And then the impact. Is it actually making a difference? It's not enough just to have awareness anymore. We have to move into action, which is one of the things that I think is really inspiring about these 3 campaigns. So those are the things that I would share in terms of insights. I'm not going to reveal any of the winners, but it was interesting to see such a diverse range of work, diverse jury. And I just want to come back to what you said in the introduction about we did notice that there are less environmental or climate-related projects at the moment, and so that's something to highlight.
Which I think is really maybe one of the things that we can encourage all the viewers to actually start acting on and doing more campaigns around that. Obviously, it can sometimes feel easier maybe to do things in the social space because when there's a face on it, it's easier to identify yourself with it. But yes, our planet, our livelihoods really need some strong voices. And I think you're absolutely right, and I think we've seen that across these campaigns. The participation, the mobilization, but also just this thing that we need to find novel ways of breaking through because we are at a quite urgent time. We need action, right?
We need action, and we need it today. I'm going to wrap this up just by asking you one question in a couple words. What gives you hope for the environment? If you have an idea. You can begin.
I think the commitment of people. When we did what we did on Firecatcher, when I listened to you guys, the way people enter in the story, when we craft the story, when we tap into the insight of the people, when we are right on the audience, people jump into that and they act for real. And that's what you say. We need people to act. So that's what gives me hope.
In my case, I think since we don't have time, maybe people are going to act more. So I'm feeling this kind of hope because I know that now people need to act. So in this case, they had no options. They have no options. So that's why I feel this kind of hope.
Yeah, and for our project as well, I kind of feel that, I'm very optimistic with the participation that we have gathered from people. We felt that they actually wanted to help. All they needed was, a tool for them to do it. And, with something like AI, they can feel helpless because you would need, legislation, like what Chair was saying, legislation to control the operations of all of these data centers. You would need the commitment of tech giants in order to provide us with net zero solutions. But, we felt that, as individuals, they really wanted to contribute. And I think we're banking on that in the future to effect positive change. Yeah.
Thank you.
And people and coalitions of also big entities like the advertising industry with the UN, I was encouraged more and more to see this year, for example, a focus on information integrity and the role of the advertising industry in asking for transparency from the platforms about where their ad spend goes, because that often really underwrites the financial model behind funding mis and disinformation, which is critical, right? If public opinion doesn't believe there's a climate crisis or doesn't believe there's an issue, that's a fundamental problem. The advertising agency, I think, advertising industry is really stepping up on that. So encouraged by that.
But you're absolutely right. What a powerful question around hope. And I do think that it's so easy sometimes to give up because it does seem like the world is going bonkers in so many ways. But I think it is actually this idea that there are actions every day that at least make me hopeful. And there was a research out from The Guardian, a number of other news organizations called Project 89, which actually said 89% of people across the world actually want to act on climate. So unfortunately, we are a silent majority in so many ways. And that makes me hopeful, the work that you guys have been doing and the way that you're hopefully inspiring others to act. Because I think, yes, an award show might seem sometimes self-serving, but an award show also inspires, and hopefully your work might inspire other people to act. So that makes me hopeful.
Me too.
Great. And talking about hope, and maybe I know that today there's the ACT tribute, so I think a lot of people might be hoping to get some awards today. Can you talk a little bit more about the tributes tonight?
I am just going to tell you at what time it is because I can't tell anything and I can't reveal anything like Sherry. So the tributes, which is basically the votes, the public votes from all the people that came to the exhibition here in Cannes and people that were on our website, and they could vote for their favorite campaign. So it's the favorite campaigns. We had thousands of votes and voters. So people are engaged. That gives me hope too. So the winners of these tributes will be revealed at 5 at the RTL beach, which is in the middle of the Croisettes. And, hope to see you all.
Fingers crossed. And that's that's all what we had to share here today from Cannes. And see you all at the ACT tributes. And let's act.
And see you next year.
See you next year. Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.